So this week we started with the development of our new website. And up front we already had a very clear image of what our purpose is for the Liberators, but we also needed to craft a purpose that we wanted to achieve with the website. So we started this week with defining the purpose of this website, and based on that we created a product backlog together with the development team and defined what the first goal was for the first day. So we started out with an overall goal and defined a couple of daily goals together with the development team.
So when we decided to build this website, we wanted to do it incrementally and iteratively. It's also the things that we always teach in our training and that we tell people to do. So we wanted to build our website the way we teach others to do it. So we started this process without actually having a very clear definition of scope. So we didn't have a very detailed product backlog. We just had a purpose, like, okay, we want to have a website that acts as a gateway where other people can easily find all the other platforms that we have available and that we use for our content. So that was the purpose of our website, and for that to work we created a team, a cross-functional team, depending a little bit on how you define it, but between 8 and 9 people.
En ik denk dat we ook weer opnieuw even de waarde hebben gezien van het iteratief werken. Dus door elke keer kleine stukjes op te leveren, te kijken werkt het of niet, en dan weer door te gaan, dat je dan uiteindelijk toch wel echt iets heel anders hebt dan wat je van tevoren had bedacht. Want er was wel een wireframe en er was wel een bepaald ontwerp, maar uiteindelijk staat er wel iets anders. En is het, denk ik, veel passender dan hoe het zou zijn als we direct gewoon hub dat hadden gebouwd.
Normaal gesproken zitten wij met de developers alleen, als een soort van geclusterd team aan een project te werken. En nu met z'n allen en werk je tegelijkertijd aan één doel, en dat doen we niet heel veel, omdat er meestal een ontwerp moet eerst goedgekeurd worden. Ja, dat is nu, gaat het proces allemaal tegelijk, maar we zitten nu ook met de klant, zitten wij dus met z'n allen in één ruimte en hebben die vrijheid om het wel zo aan te pakken. Dat vind ik wel heel leuk, want daardoor de sfeer maakt het heel erg gemoedelijk. En ik denk ook dat het wel key is om extra je best te doen.
As a product owner, I had a fixed budget, so the scope was flexible and the budget was fixed. And all the work that I wanted to realize within the budget, it was too much. So on a daily basis, I needed to make some tough choices. It was impossible to do all of it. So during the day, I was continuously syncing with the development team, with Christian, my partner as well, to make sure that we spent the available time the best way possible.
So what we did was we created a product backlog for the website that contained all our initial ideas for the website, and as we started work throughout the 5 days, the product backlog changed. So we reordered a lot of the work, we added new things that popped up, and we always used a very clear goal for every day to define, okay, this is the work that's important for today, and this is stuff that we have to add if we want to achieve that goal for today. So every day the product owner, Barry, came up with a goal, and we used that as a sort of a selection filter for the work that we wanted to do.
Na de eerste dag merkten we dat er best wel veel losse dingen werden opgepakt, elke keer zonder het echt af te maken. Dus een van de eerste leerpunten was dat we echt één ding moeten afronden en dat we dan pas door moeten gaan met een ander ding.
In hindsight, all the other days, all the other 4 days, there was a lot of focus, there was much more flow. I think every day at most 2 or 3 tasks were in progress at max. And for me as a product owner, I could see the flow improving dramatically. And that was a good thing to see as well.
Okay, so an important insight for me for the last week was how useful and motivating it is if you have fast feedback as a developer on the process of deploying new versions of your software. So what we did is we have a lamp, a build indicator, and we programmed it to show colors depending on the state of our deployment pipeline. So when our build server was compiling the website, it turned blue, and when it was actually deploying it to our production environment, it turned purple. And whenever we did a release to production, then the bulb started flashing all these rainbow colors. And the nice thing about that was it was very motivating for developers to see that it was actually deploying something. It felt a little bit like a party.
Because we've used the Scrum approach, we also wanted to release early and often. And in reality, it meant that we already did our first release in the morning of day 1. And actually, I think in these 5 days of development, I think we've released about 25 times. And of course, releasing itself should not be the goal, but I did learn that as a product owner, it was quite vital because it enabled me to validate a lot of assumptions that I had in mind. And quite often, the assumptions proved to be wrong. And I could only learn from them by seeing in reality what the functionality was going to be like when it was live, it was in production.
Maakt het ook leuk. Ik denk dat nog wel iets is wat we ook echt mee willen nemen door bijvoorbeeld een release pie. En dat je elke keer iets lekkers krijgt als je zo vaak hebt gereleased. En de gekke ochtend high fives en dansjes die we doen. Daardoor wordt het ook luchtig en leuk en merk ik dat het energie van het team ook heel hoog is.
So I think for this week, I think I've mentioned all the cliches as a product owner. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult, I can do it as well. Is it really that difficult, or can't you find a simpler solution? What I've learned is that by really sitting between the developers, seeing them doing the work, and having them explain to me about what the complexity is, I got a little bit more empathy with them. Actually, I got lots of empathy with them. And I think if I wouldn't have seen it with my own eyes, what the complexity would be, probably I would have responded differently on the amount of time that they spent on certain functionality. So to me as a product owner, I would encourage all product owners to spend a lot of time with and between the developer team itself.
Everyone building a website should do it this way. And I know that for a lot of customers it's very hard to be present in the team room the whole week. But you're spending a lot of money on it. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on this website. And we really wanted to be here, not to control everything in detail, but to make sure that everyone was always working on the valuable stuff. So if you want to have a website, make sure to do it this way. That's the best way to reduce the risk of building the wrong things and wasting your money. So do it, try it yourself. Nou jongens, super bedankt dat jullie er allemaal bij zijn. Woo!